It's funny. We talk about teaching and fine tuning. I'm watching Sirianni walk from station to station because Steichen calls the play. So he's observing. He's big on being that CEO head coach, and I thought it was interesting. What did you make of his remarks on Wednesday?
So, what did I make of the comments that Nick Sirianni said Shane Steichen had been calling plays the second half of last year? There was a part of me that said, didn't we talk about that at one point on ITB last year? I thought we brought up the fact that Steichen had been more involved with play calling at one point.
Yes.
I knew we had both been told that. But the problem with making too many distinctions on it is that it's not like Nick Sirianni is devoid of responsibility in that whole thing. Like he hears every single play that's called. He has veto power, as I
Of
understood it.
course.
Like if he didn't
Yeah.
like something, he was going to weigh in on it. But it was good for him to come forward and say it. The reason I know some people think of it as concerning, but I think you have to go back to when they hired him. He was not the play caller for the Indianapolis Colts. It's not like his play calling acumen is what got him the Eagles' job. Jeffrey Lurie was clearly impressed by his whether you want to call it emotional intelligence or his CEO, like I preside over everybody, I connect with this locker room, I can be a leader of men type of personality. That's clearly what Jeffrey Lurie was looking at when he hired Nick Sirianni because Nick didn't call plays. So it doesn't surprise me. Like I don't think Nick felt the pressure that he had to call plays, and I think it was smart of him when the team was at its worst moment at 2-6, right? To say I'm not. I'm just assuming that that's when
Yeah. Somewhere
the
around
the
there.
responsibility was
Yeah.
seated. It might have been a different time, but either way, it was responsible for him to say, "I need to be a little bit more hands on here with all departments and
Hmm.
make sure my presence is being felt." What's the big thing we talked about with Doug Peterson at times? Not coaching his coaches, kind of
Yes.
letting everybody do their own
Yeah.
thing and not being on them.
That was a
So I
mistake.
interpret that as Nick was like there with John Gannon or there with Michael Clay, the special teams coordinator, making sure everything, like if they're going to lose, at least they go down with their best game plan and their most focused guys, and they just lose on talent. I think that was his mindset at the time.
So a couple things. I remember you said this on our show last year. You said I was correct me if I'm wrong. You were. I'm trying to paraphrase this. I remember when you brought it up. You said
Mm-hmm.
something like, "From what I hear, Sirianni is getting Steichen more involved, or Steichen's more involved in the play call."
Mm-hmm.
And my read on it then was exactly the way you just talked about it, but I'll add a little bit. I think what happened was it was the record. It was Gannon was under a lot of fire.
Mm-hmm.
You remember Andy had done that when he was here many years ago, and obviously it was the Juan Castillo stuff, unfortunately, where he would hand off to Marty Morningweg. And then the other point was, remember Joe Banner came on our show. He shot. This was shot when because remember it was reported by a lot of people that Andy handed off the play calling this week or that week, but not a lot. Joe's just funny. He goes, Andy handed it off so many times I couldn't count. The media had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I just don't think it's a big deal. Now, yes, as the head coach, he absolutely has veto power because it's his offense. Him and Kevin Patullo and Steichen are the ones who put it together. And I watched Patullo as his sort of right hand man. He's an offensive guy, like he's walking around and he's watching the receivers. I noticed that, and that's good. Look, the thing that I thought got lost on Doug's staff. Obviously, they won a Super Bowl, so it was pretty good staff. But remember, we would say the lack of player development. That was a real issue I know for the Eagles with him.
Sure.
Not enough players developed, and that's something here that we had heard Sirianni preached. It might have been in his interview or maybe when he first sat down with them, but I know that that's something that they like, that he put an emphasis on player development.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. So it didn't surprise me. By the way, I think that's also around the same time that Brian Johnson came down from the booth to
Oh
be
yeah.
with Jalen Hurts a little bit more because with Nick doing other stuff, throughout the game, I think he wanted a little bit somebody a little having more personal touch with the what is it called, the iPad or the device that they use
Yeah.
after certain plays, and that wound up being what
Surface,
Brian was
Microsoft
doing. Yeah,
Surface.
the Surface, right?
Yeah.
Surface tablet. So yeah, so again, like I would be more skeptical of all of this if Nick Sirianni was a play caller to begin with and a known play caller, and then he's given it up already after a half a year.